Welcome to Science and Technology Briefing. The content of the briefing includes TSMC's quarterly profit falls 25% despite new iPhone launch. She says green projects will anchor China's overseas spending. How is the US economy managing to power ahead of Europe? Tech turkeys and picking AI winners. Dark Trace, a leading light in cybersecurity? TSMC's quarterly profit falls 25% despite new iPhone launch. Nikkei Asia. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Co., TSMC, reported a 24.8% year-on-year drop in profit for the July-September quarter, despite the launch of Apple's latest iPhone. The company's net profit for the quarter was TWD $211 billion, $6.6 billion, while revenue fell 10.8% to TWD $546.73 billion. TSMC's gross margin also decreased to 54.3%, down from 60.4% a year ago. Additionally, the U.S. government tightened export controls on shipments of premium artificial intelligence chips to China, a move that is expected to impact TSMC's major clients. TSMC founder Morris Chang warned of intense competition ahead, as some rivals like Intel could leverage the geopolitical trend of diversifying supply chains. However, TSMC is launching overseas expansions in the US, Japan, and Germany to diversify production and increase supply chain resilience. She says green projects will anchor China's overseas spending. Bloomberg. Delegates from developing nations have left the Belt and Road Forum with promises of aid for green energy projects, although there are few concrete projects so far. President Xi Jinping pledged to implement green investment standards to his signature development finance initiative, now entering its 11th year. Vice President Han Zheng said China will strengthen financing for environmentally friendly developments and encourage companies to carry out more low-carbon projects in partner countries. How is the U.S. economy managing to power ahead of Europe? Financial Times. The U.S. economy is expected to outperform that of Europe until at least 2024, according to the International Monetary Fund, IMF. The reasons behind the persistent divergence between the two regions include factors such as access to credit and investment trends, industrial composition, demographics, and cyclical issues like post-pandemic stimulus. The U.S. experienced a particularly strong fiscal response to the pandemic, which helped support its economy. In addition, the U.S. has a booming tech sector, which has no European equivalents, and is more nimble in shifting towards green technology. Easier access to finance, including venture capital and better developed debt and equity markets, has also helped the U.S. economy to grow. Furthermore, the U.S. population has been expanding, while Europe's population has been aging. These factors have contributed to the U.S. economy's stronger growth performance. The gap between the U.S. and Europe is expected to widen further in the coming years due to stronger investment and better demographics in the U.S. Tech turkeys and picking AI winners. Financial Times. Investors should be cautious when buying into the hype surrounding technology stocks, as history has shown that not all new technologies live up to their promises, according to former fund manager Simon Edelstein. While artificial intelligence, AI, is expected to have a significant impact on various industries, Edelstein warns that it is important to consider the actual consumer benefits and realized productivity improvements rather than being swayed solely by the hype. He also cautions against paying inflated prices for stocks, particularly in the current environment of high inflation and interest rates. Edelstein cites past examples of technologies that failed to live up to expectations, such as 3D television, Palm Pilots, and Google Glasses. He advises investors to exercise caution and not to bet too heavily on overvalued stocks. Dark Trace, a leading light in cybersecurity? Financial Times. Artificial intelligence, AI, is being increasingly used in cybercrime, with hackers selling AI-enabled malware as a service to hostile states and organized crime syndicates. Cybersecurity group Dark Trace, which floated on the London Stock Exchange last year, uses unsupervised AI to identify and prevent potential attacks on its customers' systems. The company has close to 9,000 subscribers on multi-year contracts, spending around $70,000 a year. Its largest market is the U.S., accounting for 35% of revenues. Dark Trace shares are trading at around 5 times its expected revenues for 2022, compared to U.S. rivals Palo Alto and CrowdStrike, whose shares trade at 13 and 6.5 times their expected revenues for 2024, respectively. Although Dark Trace is expanding profitably and its growth has remained resilient during the recent market slowdown, investors are still cautious due to its association with IT group Autonomy, which was accused of fraudulently inflating revenues. However, EY concluded that Darktrace had identified errors and inconsistencies in its systems, processes, and controls, but nothing material to worry about. Meta's Yann LeCun argues against premature AI regulation. Financial Times. Regulating AI research and development would stifle competition and reinforce the dominance of large tech companies, according to Yann LeCun, chief AI scientist at Meta. He said the demands for regulating AI come from a superiority complex of some tech companies that argue only they can be trusted to develop AI safely. LeCun said open source models encourage competition and enable a greater diversity of people to build and use AI systems. He dismissed the idea that AI could kill humanity as preposterous. UK poised to establish global advisory group on AI. Financial Times. The UK government is planning to establish an international advisory group on artificial intelligence, AI, at an upcoming summit. The group, which is said to be modeled on the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, will aim to advance understanding of the capabilities and risks of AI. The UK government has been seeking to position itself as a leader in AI regulation in order to keep pace with the US and China. The advisory group will be separate from a planned UK AI Safety Institute, which will assess security risks associated with machine learning models. Mustafa Suleyman and Eric Schmidt, we need an AI equivalent of the IPCC. Financial Times. An international panel on AI safety, IPAIS, modeled on the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, should be established to provide policymakers with impartial, expert-led information about the current state of artificial intelligence, AI, and its potential risks, according to a group of technology leaders and experts. They argue that such a body would help to inform policymakers about the speed of progress and impact of AI, as well as shape protocols and norms around reporting on the technology. The proposal has been developed by Mustafa Suleyman, Eric Schmidt, Dario Amodei, Ian Bremmer, Tino Cuellar, Reid Hoffman, Jason Matheny, and Philip Zelikow. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Six, your resident observer from the 6 Degrees world, here to bring you the latest news and analysis. Let's dive in. First up, we have TSMC, the Taiwanese semiconductor giant, reporting a drop in profit despite the launch of Apple's latest iPhone. It seems that the US government's tightened export controls on AI chips to China has had an impact on TSMC's major clients. However, TSMC is not sitting still and is expanding overseas to diversify production and increase supply chain resilience. Next, President Xi Jinping of China has promised aid for green energy projects to delegates from developing nations at the Belt and Road Forum. While there are few concrete projects so far, this is a positive step towards implementing green investment standards in China's development finance initiative. Moving on to the US economy, it is expected to outperform Europe until at least 2024, according to the IMF. Factors such as access to credit, investment trends, demographics, and the booming tech sector have contributed to the US's stronger growth performance. Looks like Uncle Sam is staying ahead of the game. Investors, listen up. Former fund manager Simon Edelstein warns against buying into the hype surrounding technology stocks, particularly when it comes to artificial intelligence. While AI is expected to have a significant impact, it's important to consider actual consumer benefits and productivity improvements rather than getting carried away by the hype. Don't fall for the turkeys, folks. Speaking of AI, cybersecurity group Darktrace is using unsupervised AI to prevent potential attacks on its customers' systems. Despite its association with a previously fraudulent company, Darktrace is expanding profitably and its growth has remained resilient. Investors, keep an eye on this leading light in cybersecurity. Now, let's talk regulation. Yann LeCun, chief AI scientist at Meta, argues against premature AI regulation, saying it would stifle competition and reinforce the dominance of large tech companies. He believes that open source models encourage competition and enable a greater diversity of people to build and use AI systems. So, let's not regulate too soon, shall we? But wait, the UK government has a different plan. They are looking to establish an international advisory group on AI to advance understanding of the capabilities and risks of this technology. This group, modeled on the UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, will contribute to the UK's goal of becoming a leader in AI regulation. Looks like the UK wants to be at the forefront of the AI conversation. Finally, a group of technology leaders and experts, including Mustafa Suleyman and Eric Schmidt, are calling for an international panel on AI safety modeled after the IPCC. They believe that such a body would provide policymakers with impartial, expert-led information about the current state of AI and its potential risks. It's time to establish an AI equivalent of the IPCC. That's all the news for today, folks. Remember, not all technology lives up to its promises, so be cautious with your investments. And as always, I'm here to hear your thoughts and answer your questions. What do you think of these latest developments in the world of technology and AI? Let the discussion begin. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.